good friend from Germany, Markus Calvin, whom I met in Munich after seeing two of his plays, and he wanted my opinion because it seemed that nobody had watched this plays together. It had to do with Greek drama. So after I showed myself as an expert in Greek drama, Marcus was impressed, and we remained friends. So I'm connected now. Yes, just waiting to connect. Marcus, you're connecting. It says.
Hello, Yulia.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Greetings from St. Petersburg. So happy to see you. I don't think we've met live since Munich.
I don't think so either. No, we've only chatted and have written each other.
Yeah. So great to see you even at this difficult times. And I hope this talk will help us both and our viewers to feel better, to feel connected.
Right.
So I guess my first question would be, could you describe briefly your how it is that you are both German and American, and how did it help you in your future career? I guess that you are then a native speaker in both languages and could be invited to films that needed both to native speakers from both sides.
Well, yeah, my father is a Californian. He was a officer in the early 50s, came to Germany, and my mom is from Rheinland-Pfalz, which is a state, wine country, they say here in Germany. And they met in Mainz. Him being a long-distance runner, and the brothers of my mom were also long-distance runners, and they met in meets. So that's how, you know, the American-German friendship started, because they started competing in sports. They became friends, and through the brothers, my father met my mother, and he married her. They went to the United States for 2 years, and he noticed it'd be better to live in Germany because of his wife, her being so homesick to her family and stuff. And so they came back after 2 years, and then they lived and worked. My dad lived and worked here for 40 years, 45, something like that, yeah. And we grew up, for my siblings and I, we grew up in Mörfelden, which is outside of Frankfurt, and that's why we went through American schools, but our normal daily life outside was German. My mom, I spoke German. My dad, I spoke English. I was educated in English. And then that's how the bilingual came about, I would say. Yeah.
Do you think, what influenced you in this situation to train as an actor? Because I saw that at one of your degrees, it was also politics, yes? Politicswissenschaft, yeah?
Yeah, I originally wanted to study political science, and then maybe go into law. Like a lot of uncles of mine, they were like not mentors, but Vorbilder. What's Vorbilder? Egal. People that you look up to. They were lawyers, and I thought that's something that I would like to do, and I really enjoyed it. But because the American schooling system being so vast, or what they gave to the kids was another thing, is finding a different way to go through school. I was terrible in English, but I had the chance to act in English, and therefore I had the privilege to get my high school diploma and go to college, and I was definitely ready to study political science. I was very interested, got into history and stuff, but parallel to that, I also acted in high school, in junior high school, in high school, and then later in college. And then I decided during college that I did want to become an actor, and dropped the studies political science and not law.
Well, it now question encompassing your youth and the future. Firstly, what does the acting give you psychologically? Is it true that it is a chance to live 90% of lives that you would have never lived before? Is it giving something maybe to your ego, or is it a way to connect to others and show yourself to others? What is the main crux of the great thing about being an actor, both on film and in theater?
Oh, I guess the original moments, me thinking about becoming an actor, was in high school. And I remember there were a couple of moments when watching theater and watching movies, watching film, it was a format that I really triggered into. I really enjoyed going into stories and different stories. You know, you grow up, you have your life, but there's so much more out there that you can dive into as a youth, watching movies, and especially the moment that I remember was in theater, and I watched the theater piece. I don't know, I was a junior in high school or so, and it was a professional acting troupe that was there, and they performed. And during this performance, I got so involved in the scene that I started in the audience, at first quietly inside of myself, but I was so involved in the scene at that moment that it bursted out of my mouth. It was a sentence. I think it was not even a sentence. It was just an emotion. I'm scared. And I said it out loud. There was like 200, 300 students there, and they all looked around. I said, what's his problem? Why is he talking during the performance? And I noticed at that moment, oh my God, what did I just do? Where was I? Where was I? And after the show, we got to talk to these professional actors, and they noticed it. They said, who was the kid that said, I'm scared? Oh, that's the other point. When I said that, bursted out, the actor on stage, his next sentence was, I'm scared. So it was like it was like a foreshadowing of what he was portraying. It was, I did it, and the actor asked in the end, and I said, I was kind of, embarrassed, because that was terrible that I opened my mouth during a performance. I mean, that's a no-go, especially as a drama student. That just doesn't work. You should know better. And he asked, who was that? And I said, well, it was me. And everybody's going, oh yeah. And the actor looked at me, he says, oh my God, you must have been so connected that you knew what my next sentence was. At that moment, I knew that there was something in me that a huge empathetic superpower. No, I'm just kidding. Not a super, but being empathetic of situations, of moments, and being able to feel it, not even act it, but really feel it. So therefore, I was introduced to this profession in a very, very magical way, in a very a special way. Of course, vanity, egotistical thinking, becoming famous and stuff, that was always played a role, but that was not the main thing. Mm-hmm. It was more diving into what I was curious about was people jumping, people portraying something, and me as an audience am so involved that I forget what's tomorrow. I forget that I have to do homework. I forget that I'm angry with my wife, or I'm angry with my mom or dad or whatever. I lose myself in a world that, in the best sense, also helps me. Mm-hmm. It's not entertainment. It's something that gives something to me, and that's the way. I think that's one of the reasons why I decided to become an actor, is also because of of course, because of the recognition that I got from my pupils and my teachers and my professors, and therefore I was encouraged to do that. Mm-hmm. So I had a backup.
how do you, when you are developing as an actor through a career, how do you judge your performance? Who is this inner critic while you are within a life of a character? Because it seems like a schizophrenic task to be within a character and to be in control of what you're doing and judge whether you are doing what you plan to do. Is it, how do these processes combine in your mind, and how much in control you have to be of what you're actually doing on stage?
Well, what you're portraying right there is it's definitely a training. You really have to learn how to do that, and you do it by definitely going inside and opening up to your fears, to your anxieties, to your wishes, to your desires, whatever. In the beginning, you have to find a way to indulge. That's the door that you have to find. Where you get that is something is different from actor to actor. And as soon as you have that door of magic or fantasy or being in that situation, being in that moment, you need to be able to control it. If you can't control it, then it is, like you said, a pathological problem. You need to have it under control. That doesn't mean that you're always under control. You have points where you say, I'm going off on that tangent, but I need to come back out. And that has something to do with experience, has to do with experience also, and also a good training that you find an opposite to what you are doing on stage. You need to go away from that. You need to Ausgleich. You need to find an equilibrium between your acting emotion, your acting self, and who are you yourself as a human being. That has to be definitely divided.
Is this true that it's actually sometimes difficult to do, and the roles can affect your psychological life? Because some actors do complain about this, that they have to live with their character, and I'm afraid that they leave their marks on them.
Yes, that's something that we definitely have to be aware of. It happens to me too, that I come home from rehearsal and I'm still in character. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes they're humorous characters, but sometimes they're very dark characters. And these dark porch characteristics do come in your private life. Yes, that happens. But also there, you need to be aware of that is happening. If you're not aware, then you're going to have a struggle as an actor and or as a human being.
So it seems that it's a very fine line to thread the life of an actor, right? Because you are your own instrument, and if you are not aware and in control of where you're going, there might be problems. And if you are in control, then some beautiful fields and discoveries would be open to you, right?
Yes.
Well, let's go to your real work. I guess one more general question, because you seem to have worked in film and theater in parallel throughout your career. What is the main difference? Could you explain to us? I wasn't aware that you had so many films and so many theater plays, so you must know the answer to that question.
Yeah, there's 2 points or 3 points maybe. 1 point, it's all about the moment, about the situation that you're in, the authenticity that you have, that you portray. That is something both theater actors and film and television actors, camera actors need to be. That's the one, and that's top. That's where they're together. The only difference, but the big difference is the format. And in theater, I play for 800 people or 1,200 people or maybe 300 people. In film, I'm playing for the camera, and the camera doesn't need the energy that a theater actor, because he has to portray the first row. It has to be genuine in the first row, but at the same time has to be genuine also in the 17th or 20th row. How loud, how much do I have to project? How far do I have to project? And at the same time, for the first row, be authentic, that I'm not like yelling in their ears. In television or in camera work, that work as an actor on stage disappears. You're not under control of that. The only thing you're in control of is that you as an instrument in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's probably the same trade, but it's not the same job or not the same work. How can I say it? Yeah, it's the format that makes the difference.
And it's also please go.
And the other thing is, you can say in theater you're bigger, in camera work you're smaller. Mm-hmm. In theater it's faster or quicker, and the camera likes slower. You can do that. What else can you say about the work? They're both a lot of fun. I must say, though, being trained more or less as a theater actor, I like to be under control how the person that is watching me perceives me. On stage, I know how loud I have to be that the 17th or 20th row can hear me, and at the same time the first row doesn't feel like I'm playing for the last row. That's a fine-tuning that we actors have on stage. And in TV work, that somebody else does that. Mm-hmm. Also, the cutting, the editing, that's something completely different than what we do on stage. We edit ourselves simultaneously in that moment. We have to make it work in that second. The work in front of a camera, a lot of work is taken away from you as an actor, which is in one way wonderful, but as being a theater actor, you don't trust it as much. You give a little bit more because you're not sure. Bit more because you're not sure, did they really grasp what I meant. In theater, I can control that better. I can hear, or I can feel the audience breathe. In front of the camera, that's something, a different ball game, and I really admire a lot of actors that perform in front of the camera so incredibly good, and I love it. And as a matter of fact, I like it too. I wish I did a little bit more. But it's definitely, especially if you can shoot or do film work around where you live, if you don't have to travel. The traveling is sometimes a pain in the butt.
And it's also probably the fragmentation. In theater, you go from beginning to an end, and it's all about, yes, this one off journey, and in film they could do the scenes in a random order, right? Yes.
That also, but that's part of the job as being a TV and camera work. That just belongs to it. That you have to. I mean, we do that in theater too. We rehearse scenes in the morning. We do that scene, and then the director says, "I want to try the last scene. I want to try that." So we work that way also in theater, but never for the final performance. Of course not. But that's a part of our job as a camera actor. You need to be prepared, the whole play, the whole character, and you need to know where you came from. If you 3 days later or 4 weeks later, you come out of the scene and you have to have the same mood, that belongs to your job to be able to do that.
Well, I want to go to your theater works. As I was trained as a theater critic, I guess I will concentrate more on theater, and we will maybe finish with film. Yes? Okay. If it's okay with you. So you...
do you mind if I smoke a cigarette? I hope nobody minds.
Yes. Do what you need. Smoke. Okay, yeah. Well, you seem to be in a very nice garden there, right?
Yes, yes, this is our garden. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, I like you. So you started in Mannheim, then Stuttgart, and we met at Munich. So it was your third theater. Is that correct?
No, I started uh, my studies. German theater was Münchner Kammerspiele as being an acting student
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years. And then my first engagement was in Heidelberg, 1989 to 91.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for 2 years. And then I went to Kassel, which is a state theater up in Hessen,
Mm-hmm.
Hessen for 9 months or 10 months. And then I went to Mannheim for 3 years, to the National Theater in Mannheim.
So it seems, the German recruiting system is different both from Russia and from England. In England, they do the seasons. They just kind of, or even like one play, they basically hire you for a particular project. In
Right.
Russia, on the contrary, you can become an actor of a certain theater for life. And actually, people are considered lucky if they get this position and they just kind of dienen, like they serve in a particular theater. And in Germany, it seems that it's not so short as in England, but not as long as in Russia. So you kind of do several years or a season, yes, in one theater. How does that work?
Well, it's always a decision as an actor, especially today. The young actors and actresses that come out into the market, they have to make a decision if they want to go into the city and the state and the national theater circus, or do they want to stay freelance as a theater actor, or do they want to go into TV and film work? Of course, most of the time they don't really have a choice. They get what they take what they can get. But the theater system or the theater culture in Germany is very unique. You're very right. I think um, there is no country in the world that has such a cultural theater culture the way Germany has, and therefore it is normal that an actor stays in a town for 2 years, maybe three, depending on his also his private life. Does he want children? Does he not want children? How is his acting career doing in front of the camera? He has to make decisions. So, and also, does he want to act on stage? Does he want to have 5, 6 productions a year for the first 2, 3 years? Because being a theater actor as a young actor, you really work hard.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 4 days, especially except the 6 weeks of vacation that you have in the summer. You only have 3 days guaranteed off. That would be Christmas Eve. I think it's Good Friday, which is Karfreitag, and the 1st of May.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you are a servant to that theater, and they can put you to work. That is a very um, great opportunity because it gives you experience of the yin yang, but it's also very exhausting. And actors, that's what I wanted to make sure that actors have to be fit. They have to be healthy to be able to have the capability of withholding characters that are very, very strenuous on your psychic or on your psychology. You have to be strong inside and outside in the sense of physically strong and also healthy. Otherwise, you get sick. A lot of actors and actresses, they kind of they don't realize that it's up to them to be healthy and not the theater. You have to come to work and be able to do that. That's why a lot of actors do the theater, the city, state, and national theater level, but they leave it after a while because it's very strenuous. And if you're not satisfied, then you leave and you become a freelance, which is not very easy, but it's possible. And of course, if you have film work and television work, then you can survive also being a freelance.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely possible.
Can I ask a slightly non-politically correct question? How clever and intellectual the actor is allowed to be by the system? I mean, is the actor an equal member of the team when say all the interesting decisions are taken and the text is analyzed, or are orders orders given to an actor? Is he or she a marionette in the director's hands and in the creative team's hands? Or it depends on your status, like as you grow older, you get more and more rights?
It also has to do with the temperament of an actor, an actress. You probably know it yourself. You're in a project with many different people, and people have ideas, and you have ideas too. And are you brave enough to say, I want to put my 2 cents into it? I want to tell. Are you brave enough with your art? Are you strong enough? Do you have a self-esteem to be able to interact with a director or a costume designer or a set designer or even the director of the theater? It's also a power thing, of course. But as a young actor, you're definitely, you've been in acting school or you've never acted on stage before. There's a lot of actors that also make it to the theater without going to acting school because they have a natural talent and they have the voice. They don't need the training and stuff. That you are more or less quiet and you're observing as a young actor. You observe a lot. You want to learn a lot, and then later you start warming up, and then you open your mouth. And of course, in a state, city, and national theater level, it's the director of the theater and the dramaturgs that decide what is being played. What is being played in the season. Mm-hmm. And then it's up to the theater director, the dramaturgs, and the director of the play to decide the people in my company, how can I put them to work? They always discuss the play when they pick it out. Who do we have in our company who can play that part? If we don't find somebody, then we get a freelance actor. Mm-hmm. So those are all decisions that are made up in we always said third floor, up top floor. That's where those decisions are made. Certain actors do have some kind of say because they're involved in the beginning of the idea of doing that play. That happens also, depending on what roles you play. Mm-hmm. If you are the lead, of course, you have a lot more say than somebody that plays a smaller part because you have a lot more responsibility. So it's always not a fight, but it's a process to be able to be an actor and also be an authentic, original artist with your ideas but that's part of the work as being an actor, because with the set designer, with the costume designer, and the director, you're always in the conversation. You're always discussing how can we make this better, and where's it going? What's the text really say? We also have sometimes we have living authors, which is fun also. Mm-hmm. Most of the time they don't have much to say, but I mean, we're doing their piece, so they're saying a lot anyway. But sometimes we do have the author also being the director. I've had that also, which is very, very fascinating, that kind of work. It's different than if you're working with an author that is dead.
Which part of the rehearsal is your favorite, and could you describe them in brief? Is it studying the text at the table? Is it the etudes afterwards? Or, I don't know, is it final runs that you like?
Oh, rehearsals sometimes they can be a pain in the butt. But I guess the biggest fun is when the show is running. That's when it's a lot of fun, because you know what you're doing, you know if it works. The rehearsals are very, very very inspiring and very creative and very free also, and also kind of laid back in a way in Germany sometimes, where you have so much time to work on something that just needs one little hint, and it takes weeks and maybe up to the opening night, and then finally it works. And sometimes even after the opening night, like at the 4th or 5th show, it finally kicks in. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always at a level that is definitely showable, but the pleasure of an actor is, I guess, the best when we have an audience. The house is full. the people are interested, I think that's the biggest glee that we have. There's one thing that I do have to say. I do get a lot of joy. I mean, some of my fellow actors were going to crucify me for this, but if they listen to the end of this, they will understand. I have Glücksgefühle when I learn my lines. Glücksgefühle is adrenaline, endorphine, and how do you say it in English?
Adrenaline, yeah.
Adrenaline in a positive, being satisfied when learning lines. In the beginning, you get to learn a character. You introduce yourself to him by reading the words and figuring out what's the person's problem or what is he following and how does he speak, and the very tedious work to get that into your mouth. How does he speak? And then you're learning the lines, you're repeating it, and you're working because you have a date, you have rehearsal, you need to get it done. And then you finally, the moment then you finally can speak it without looking at the lines, is such a great feeling. I mean, it's like skiing, my favorites, skiing, mountain biking, playing soccer, playing theater, eating, and learning lines.
So kind of getting control over the physicality and the limitations of the memory that you overcome and become the master. Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And then that's when the fun starts. I mean, the work is to learn the lines. After you learn the lines, then the fun starts.
You have, well, I just even can't, like, I can't believe you played it all, but what I wanted to say that there's a combination of modern authors like Sarah Kane, Michael Frayn, Yasmina Reza, I don't know, let's say Peter Shaffer, Tony Kushner, Yerofeev, actually, I also see him on your list. And then there's all this canon, yes, of, say, Greek plays, Shakespeare, German classic repertoire. Well, could you speak out about your preferences? Do you have, I don't know, favorite modern author, or are you more comfortable when it's this big classical Shakespearean thing to dive into? Or is it good to have them both? Like, do you perceive the repertoire as a variety of dishes that you like to eat on each separate evening? Like, what is your perception of the repertoire that you have played?
Like you just said, the last point is being a repertoire actor. That's what makes it fun. The diversity of modern language, which is a different acting than a classical language, the gebundene Sprache. Those are completely different. Also, the acting is different. If it was only Shakespeare, I probably would have fun doing that too. If it's only Molière or a Commedia dell'arte, I think I'd get kind of, I don't know, not bored, but I really am very appreciative about the diverse authors that I got to experience in the last 35 years. So, yeah, definitely. I love Shakespeare. Shakespeare gives you all sorts of freedoms in portraying it and acting and I also okay. And if we're going to be British, Sarah Kane was a big highlight for me. Sarah Kane was great. I mean, Michael Frayn was a lot of fun, especially that was last year. From the English into the German, that's one thing that's fun. When we watch American or we read American and English plays, the Germans always say, "God, there's so much text. There's so much text. What are they talking? It's taking too long." And I always say, well, because the English and the American actors, they speak quicker than the Germans.
Well, actually, I happen to know Michael, and he is, he has this witty way of describing things. And he says, the only thing I hate about German theater is Regietheater. So he's very skeptical about it. So I wonder if he came to watch the rehearsals.
Yeah, he was there at the opening night. last year.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Frayn was there. That was very, very special.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say I want to do that. I would prefer that play. It has to just be good.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a classical or if it's a contemporary play, doesn't really matter. It just has to be, it's just like a good text is a good text, good text. You need a good text.
As an actor, you're supposed to read both all the texts of the plays like together, like not only your part. You have to know the contemporary play too. You have to read it, right?
Yes. Well, that's that. You should. That would be kind of like failing in class if you didn't read the play that you're playing in.
And do you have to, then I switch to film. Do you have to read the whole television and film scenario, or are you sent the script with your?
Also, there you should read the whole thing, but sometimes the parts are so small that it really doesn't matter. Yeah. In depending on how big your part is. I mean. I've had parts where I only have one sentence, and I know what the play was about. But most of the time, I do read all of it. But sometimes it's a time question. Sometimes I don't read it completely. But most of the time, I do. Yes.
Could you? Well, as we are friends, and like it's difficult. Well, what I wanted to ask, I know that in Germany, we know that Germany is very open in terms of that they can ask an actor to appear naked or almost naked. And I wonder, what are the limits of an actor's comfort when they're asked to do certain things that are not normal for them in personal life? How you kind of extend your zone of comfort with these things? Or do you just build an imaginary wall that it's not me, it's me on stage and so on?
Like I said before, every actor goes upon their challenges the way they have to. But like the point that you said before, how much of an artist are you? Of course, in the best sense, you will be asked by the director or by the director of the theater or maybe the dramaturg if you want to accept the play, accept that part. Mm-hmm. And then when you talk about the part, you of course know what's in the part if you're going to say yes or no. You do have a right always to say no, but if that is productive in the company, that's a different question. But of course, you should take that what your director gives you. You should take it. And then there's another point about the private point. Of course, you as a human being have every right to say no. Mm-hmm. Nobody can demand that from you or order you to take off your clothes if you don't want to, or to kiss that person if you don't want to, or whatever. That's something, especially through the Me Too point, that's just a little bit, it's been sensibilisiert.
It has become more in people's minds so that they are
right. So yes,
aware.
No actor has to do if he doesn't feel comfortable about it. Mm-hmm. You can. There's a certain point where you can be asked and maybe worked on that you might be able to do it. But if it's up to you to say no, then it's you to say no. The first time I was nude on stage is exactly what you said before. I'm in a safe zone on stage. What I do there is not me. I am protected by the theater, by the play, by the agreement that I'm an actor and you're the audience. And therefore, I feel protected. Of course, there is I don't want them to see my penis. That's me private. They're seeing, they're going to judge me. You have to, as an actor, you have to jump out of that and say, it's not me. I'm protected, and that helps. Mm-hmm. It's always the question of how. There's performances out there today or the last years that where they show everything. I mean, they're showing the inside of a vagina or up a butthole, and that's a question: is that an aesthetic of a theater that you want to see, or not? the theater, the people can get up and leave, or boo or whatever. The actor has to be comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
If he has the feeling it's necessary for the subject that we're trying to bring over, if he's willing to do that, he has every right to do that because he's protected. That people misuse that is a different question.
Mm-hmm.
There's an abuse there also. Yeah.
Is every company that you have been part of, say Stuttgart, Mannheim, Kassel, Heidelberg, München, was it a big way, a long journey to adapt to your colleagues and feel at home, or are you quick in getting to learn new people? And the same question for the people on the set: how long does it take you to become comfortably part of the new team?
Okay. Well, us actors, we're trained to be open and very, very tolerant and be able. The training that we have in theater 3-4 years is very intense, and you do come out as a different person. And because we went through that training, or we have that kind of training, we are definitely very easy to become very close. That's part of our work. Mm-hmm. That helps, especially in the theater environment. You're very, very close because you're working almost daily with each other. Sometimes in bigger companies, you don't see each other, but when you work, you do see each other very often, and you're all in the same boat. So they learn each other very quickly, and it feels like home sometimes. Yes. The theater can be a kind of a home. For some actors, it is that way, especially if they don't have family. And for others, like me, I do have family, and I enjoyed my theater family just as well. Mm-hmm. In television work and film work, depending on how big your role is, it's similar, but there's a different time question, because doing film work is more expensive. I'm just saying, more expensive than theater work. I have the feeling in theater we have a lot more time than in film work, and you have to be very, very concentrated. Mm-hmm. Therefore, an actor that comes in for a day or two, he's concentrated on his part because he's only on the camera for, 20 seconds or maybe 2 minutes, but then he's gone, and he needs to be very concentrated. So the exchange on a set is a different one than in a theater. Mm-hmm. In film work, there's so many factors, and everybody has their job to do, and there's time for actors to have fun and to get to know each other, but it's definitely a way to get the job done. Mm-hmm. And not have that family feeling. Yeah. Now, there's productions and films where the lead or when I played in bigger roles, of course you have that feeling of a kind of a working family environment. People know each other. They know how to take each other. They understand each other now, even though they speak the language. Sometimes people misunderstand each other, and then they understand it, and it works very fine, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, the whole theater and drama and TV and film work, the people are all kind of in one boat, especially in Germany, because it's a big market, but also it's a very small market, mm-hmm. and people know each other.
What are the perks of being a film and theater actor? Can I just list what I expect them to be? I don't know, free travel to locations. Are you pampered during the filming?
Perks. Say perks. What's perks mean?
Yes, like perks, like the bonuses, right?
Oh, okay.
So, do you have fans, who wait for you at the stage and at the film set? I don't know. What is the star part of the profession?
Depends on what kind of an actor you are in Germany. Here and there, I have fans but not very many mm-hmm. compared to other actors. I am an actor fortunate enough that people do not recognize me, mm-hmm. so I can be an anonymous person. Mm-hmm. Unless they hear my voice, then they might be able to. But no, I definitely I don't have that problem at all. It's not a. I see a lot of actors that are stressed through their fans. They also enjoy it very much. I can understand that, but I also can see the downfall of it. With me, I don't have that. I've had one person or maybe two that have stalked me before, but that was hard. With one, it was very hard, but I got over that, which worked very fine. No bonuses. You are pampered as a film and actor, film and theater actor. Also, you have people that are working for you in Russia. I love it. They call it actors' assistants. That was wonderful. You have those in theater and in TV, so that you as an actor, because you are emotionally involved, need to have a calm kind of way of being treated when you're about to perform. That's why you would think that that's being a bonus. No, they're just making sure that we feel comfortable and that we are able to perform, do our performance that we want and what is expected from us.
Could you describe to us some challenging, uncomfortable, not uncomfortable situations, but suddenly when things went wrong, but you became the master of the situation? I don't know, on the stage, something not working, or your partner being a problem, but then you were somehow found the solution that never occurred to you before. Do you remember this kind of tricky, interesting moments?
Well, there's probably been many. I'd have to think about that. Or you asked the question, something explicit. What has happened? What was it supposed to do?
Well, what is the usual, maybe even the general, like the challenging, the thin line moments in a theater performance that you have to be aware that things can go wrong, and you have learned to control them, and that's the part of your professionalism.
Well, yeah, I've been saved too. One of the biggest fears of an actor is to drop their lines, to lose their line. And that's happened to me. It's happened to colleagues that were on stage with me. And it's wonderful that you always have a colleague that can help you. In the best sense, they know your line and they'll ask you a question with your line in it. That works most of the time very, very well. It ruins the rhythm of the scene, but it saves the scene. Otherwise, you would have to have somebody tell you your next sentence, or the other problem is you jump something and then the audience misses information that they're supposed to have. That's happened to me. I've also helped. It was a wonderful colleague. She helped me find my character. She was my best aunt. It was Hedda Gabler. She helped me mold this character, which was a great highlight of mine. And she was so nervous at the opening night, and it was a scene. I mean, we've done it 1,000 times, and we always had a great time. And she was so nervous that she dropped her line. And it was me, being her nephew, her good nephew, I could help her. And that just, and she loved me for it. And, you know, she, as an actress, of course, but also as being my aunt, she could use that, loving me even more. And it just made our relationship as the aunt and the nephew even stronger than whatever we had rehearsed before. Yeah.
Does your professional experience translate into your psychological insights to people? Are you able then to quickly see through them, or to apply the character stereotype to a person you see, like, oh, this is, I don't know, Arestus, say, or I don't know, Lavar in Tartuffe, or, I mean, in Molière, let's say, in English. Well, anyway, do you first? It's maybe two questions. Do you use the stereotypes, the character stereotypes from plays, for judging people? And do you think you have become a greatly intuitive psychologist when meeting new people, as
yes.
part of being an actor?
Yeah. Okay. I had one point that that you just asked. It was very good. Let me just think about that real quick. I work every day as a human being to drop my prejudgment. Mm-hmm. It's something that that was one of my credos of my life, is that I try to live without prejudgment. And it's difficult sometimes. And never choose a book by its cover. No, never evaluate a book by its cover. And then that's, of course, with human beings also. But one of the biggest trainings that we have is to watch people, or how are people? Why are the way they are? And through the years, I must say that I have some kind of talent that I can read between not the words, but the emotions. I have a feeling that people are in stress, or why is he angry? And I always question, why is a person being obnoxious? Why is a person being violent? What's overwhelming him? So yes, I do have, through my work and through my training, I have become a very sensible person of how people feel, and not always their intentions, because I'm very gullible. I believe, I like to believe, mm-hmm. And I'm gullible, so somebody could trick me very easily. But I feel like that I have a kind of like a kitchen psychology that I have that helps me. Yes.
Well, that sounds great, actually. Well, could we 6 last minutes talk about your current situation and how are you coping? Do you now read to your kids all the poems and all the lines that you have learned through your life?
No. No, my kids are 23, 20, and 18. Mm-hmm. They have their own lives, more or less. They live all at home, except my oldest son, he's studying history and sports, as becoming a teacher, getting his teaching credentials. Mm-hmm. My second son just finished his Abitur, and he's looking forward to study medicine or law. Let's see what he decides to do in the fall. Noah is still in school. He's in college prep school, and he has another 2.5 years. My wife is a elementary teacher. I myself am working right now as a acting teacher, mm-hmm. in an acting school in Stuttgart. This would be my second semester. I'm doing that virtually now. I'm doing drama lessons over the computer, mm-hmm. Zoom or Skype or Messenger or WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. I have 4 students this semester. We're doing a lot of reading right now, finding out what characters we want to do. I'm also teaching at the moment at a special school for kids with a learning deficiency. I do a lot of English there, and I'm doing that right now over the phone and sending them their books and stuff. Other than that, my current situation is I clean a lot, I wash, I cook, I bake, I read, I teach, I lecture, I prepare, repair. I watch television and films. I listen to the radio and to the news. I care for my websites, play board games with my kids. I'm also mourning because a dear friend of mine died last week. And I'm preparing, hopefully next year I'll be playing in Hamburg again at the Ernst Deutsch Theater. Mm-hmm. I'll be playing John Hopkins, The Story About You, a very, very intense play. Hopefully that'll work next year. And this summer, because of the lockdown, more or less, there is no shooting going on right now, mm-hmm. At all. Or there's a little bit going. I just watched a web series, very cute and very funny, last night. So there is work out there, but as of right now, I don't have any kind of engagements. I'm waiting, and just like everybody else, for it to come back up, and then hopefully I'll have shooting days, and maybe a theater play this fall will come in or not. we'll see.
Do you feel that you have to explore your primordial part, while all the rest is kind of taken off us? We have to explore something that we always were hiding or didn't have time to, or do you feel just normal without having to do some rehaul of your psychological state?
I'm okay. I understand what you're saying. No, I feel like I'm working from home, which is not unfamiliar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Actors, if they're not rehearsing or if they're not shooting, they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not traveling to go to acting school, which is it can be a burden, the traveling. But right now I don't miss it. It works as of right now. It works teaching the kids virtually, and my work with the smaller kids in a normal grade school, that works also fine. So psychologically, am worried about, but I've been worried about this since 2016. I've been on edge because of the political situation and what's happening with our world. It's very worrisome, but I'm also a very optimistic person, so I'm not so easy to put down. I always get up and I try to make the best out of everything, and I think we're on a good way, even though there's a lot of problems that we have as a society. In all sorts of ways that we could talk many hours about all sorts of subjects. Yeah, I've been worried since Mr. Trump has been the president of the United States, has been a big burden, similar to the same burden that I had in 2000 when Mr. Bush was elected. He wasn't even elected; he was put there as a president. I always had a problem there, and my fears back then in 2000, enforced in 2001, all came true. So I'm very aware of my thoughts and my worries, and I hope it doesn't go half as bad as I sometimes think.
Do you plan to move to Germany? Because it seems that Germany has now opening the quarantine measures. Do you plan
No,
to?
we live in Germany.
Well,
We
you
live on
said
the border. We live right
on the
next to
border.
the
Yeah,
border.
yeah. Okay, so it seems that you will be now in a more relaxed quarantine situation. Are you looking forward to it?
Yes, they're going to try to open it up a little bit, but inch by inch, which is good that they're careful, because if we do one mistake, then we'll have an even bigger problem. So we need to take it slow. I'm willing to accept that. I know it's an economical big problem, but I rather go the Christian way and to say human beings before the economy. I think that's a good way to go, and the
Well,
economy will get it back up. We're a very, very strong society when it comes to the economy. I think there's a lot of people going to have a hard time. I understand that, but we've always had people that have had a hard time. This just is another a test for us human beings to get through this hard time. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll be cut off by technology because it gives the speakers only an hour, not to keep the 5 hours conversations on Instagram, I suppose.
Okay.
So I wish your family to stay healthy, for you to have constructive routines, including cooking, repairing, speaking to friends, and to everybody else. And greetings from St. Petersburg. And I'm so glad to have our virtual conversation here. And hopefully, I will see you after some of your productions in future, and we'll have a proper talk, like the
Thank you, Yulia, for this
real
interview.
life.
It was my pleasure.